This gospel from Matthew is often titled the Great Judgment Gospel. It's not a parable. It's just Jesus wanting the folks to know, those that were following him, that he had some criteria that he was going to place for them to understand how to enter into the kingdom of heaven. And not only is it criteria for that, but I truly believe that what Jesus is saying is this is what it means to be a follower of Christ. And I don't believe there's any better explanation than what we have just heard in that gospel. The sign that we are a true follower of Christ, that our loyalty to him is really genuine, that our prayer is authentic, that the Holy Spirit dwells in us, that we are following the light given to us, is not so much what we say, but what we do. Whatever you do for the least of my brothers or sisters, you do for me. It is crucial to recognize that the most important word in that sentence is the word least. We're not going to be judged on how well we love those who are closest to us, but rather on how we love those who do not seem to be connected to us at all. We're not going to be judged on how well we love those that we like, but rather on how we love those who are difficult to love, the least of our brothers and sisters. It is not enough to stand before the Lord and say, I have loved somebody. Everybody loves somebody. It would be inhumane or monstrous to go through life and to say, I never loved anyone. As good as it is, loving our friends and our spouse and our children is not the love that determines our judgment. God expects so much more from us. The sin of those left out of the kingdom and sent to darkness is not that they cause harm to those in need, because they didn't cause their hunger or nakedness or imprisonment. Their sin was they didn't do anything. Absolutely nothing. They looked the other way. We will be judged not only for what we did, but as important for what we failed, more important for what we failed to do. This gospel also calls us to see that Jesus is present in those whom we show ministry and love. That's why he uses those words so carefully. Whatever you did to me. Whatever you did to me. This presence is certainly in the least among us, but not only in them. This gospel reveals the intimate connection which Jesus has with all people, the young and the old, the attractive and the repulsive, those who are successful, those who are destitute. Our real belief must be what Jesus teaches us, that he is present to all people. Therefore, what we do to anyone, we do to him. Living this way requires a deep faith. There are a lot of people we just don't like, huh? Only faith will allow us such a wide scope to Jesus' presence. We tend to limit Christ's presence to those who look Christ-like, to those who are good and honest, to those who are polite and responsible, to those who are hardworking and respectable. But this gospel tells us that such a view is too narrow. Whenever we encounter any person, there is something Christ-like in that person. Might be hard to find, but there's something Christ-like in every person. Jesus is present in everyone. All were made in his image and likeness. That likeness stays even though we've messed it up sometimes. But Jesus' presence is in all people. This is a profound challenge, to live and believe this way. It's a big problem. We know that people are not equally good and trustworthy. There are some people who are manipulative and downright abusive. We sometimes need to distance ourselves from such people, to hold them at arm's length. But even these least among us retain some presence of Christ in them. Therefore, the shocking revelation is that we must relate to each person as we relate to Christ. Christ chooses to remain even in people who make disastrous decisions, in people with whom we dare not associate. Christ lets go of no one. Our Catholic tradition knows this truth. It insists that every person has value and worth that cannot be taken away and should not be taken away. Every person retains this Christ-likeness. That is why in our Catholic tradition, we're opposed to abortion. We're opposed to capital punishment and unjustifiable war. Believing in the revelation of the last judgment can really change us. We really listen to that judgment scene. We can forgive our enemies if we remember that Christ is in our enemy. Even if we cannot see the Christ-likeness, we can choose to believe that somehow it is still in them. We can become more patient with people who annoy us if we believe that Jesus remains in those we find difficult. We can become less critical, less judgmental, less prejudiced if we realize that we do not need to see Christ's presence in others before we believe it is there. The revelation of this gospel, the revelation of this last judgment attempts to change our vision. Of course, such vision only can lead to action, to feeding the hungry and welcoming the stranger. But action is not the first step. The first step is not doing, but seeing. Seeing the presence of Christ in another. If we see where Christ is, doing will automatically follow. If we recognize that Christ is present in everyone, we cannot help but serve every brother or sister of our own.